Hey, folks, Alicia here. Welcome to today's live session. I'm stoked. Want to say hello in the chat. I'm going to pop a hello in here as well, just to get us off and started. Today, we're going to be talking about the top questions I've been asked about fitness and skiing in the last 2 weeks. So some of these came directly from participants in our pre-ski program. We are kind of halfway through one of those and nearing the end of another one of those programs, our 8-week pre-ski programs. And so I sourced a lot of these questions, both from the meetings I have with people at the beginning of the program and also the midway meetings as well. So I sourced them from there. And then I also sourced them from some conversations I've had on Instagram in the last week and a half. So I limited the time frame because otherwise, man, we could be talking about anything and we could be talking for hours. If you are here or if you have a question for me today, I will answer it live if you pop it in the chat. That's always the most fun. And you'll get the most hot take because I won't have very much time to think about it. So pop it in there. And otherwise, let's get into the first one. Now, I didn't do pick out of a hat this week. Instead, I just wrote them down in the kind of order that I received them from people. So we're going to start at the beginning with an interesting question I got, and it was from someone who wasn't in the program. They were doing their own kind of prep for ski season, and they asked, does cycling translate to ski leg strength? And I thought, and they actually, I remember the conversation was skiing or running, but let's start with cycling, and then we'll talk about running after. And hot take, no. And so it does translate in that is awesome that you are building up your heart and your lungs and your leg strength to some extent when you're on the bike, but you are working at a submaximal capacity. When we're on a bike, we're usually doing about 90 rotations per minute. And if you think about strength training, that pure strength work is done in the 6 to 8 reps of an exercise with a lot more added load and through a different or a greater range of motion. So although cycling is amazing for a lot of reasons, great for your heart, really good for your strength endurance, if we want to build up our pure strength and power for being on the hill so that big, fast turns feel good and the end of a long run feels good, we're probably going to have to add in some other elements. The other thing cycling misses is this lateral component of strength that we want to be working on before we go on hill. In cycling, again, there's lots of good things about it. We are going in one direction, doing one movement over and over and over again. Adding some variety is going to help you build up the muscles that externally and internally rotate the femur and the hip socket, that build your ability to move laterally, your adductors and abductors. So there's going to be some stuff missing if all you're doing is cycling, getting ready for ski season. And then same thing goes when it comes to running. My added thing for running, although I love running. I love me an ultra. I love me a big trail run. When I'm getting ready for ski season, I am doing strength work because running in particular, it doesn't have as big of a range of motion as our skiing does. Think about someone in the middle of a turn. Now think about somebody in the middle of a running stride, and you're going to notice that we're not moving through the same range of motion. And strength is gained in the range that it is trained. So when we're in the gym, we want to be exposing ourselves to the depth that we're going to see on the ski hill. So that's my hot take on number 1. Let's move on to the next question. Take a little sip of my coffee first, of course. If you have coffee at home, have a sip as well. And if you have a question for me, pop it in the chat. Okay, question 2. This came from a current program member, and it was asked a little tongue-in-cheek. I loved it. He asked, how does a drink or two impact your recovery after a day skiing? And man, I could do an hour-long talk on alcohol and how it affects performance. Largely, I have bad news for you. Although alcohol is really great to have socially and can increase your enjoyment, après-ski, it unfortunately has some negative side effects when it comes to your skiing the next day. The biggest one right off the hop is that it is going to dehydrate you. unfortunately. And so if you are going to have that post-ski drink, it is important to take in some water and electrolytes separately. It also doesn't have, I know lots of people talk about, post-ski beer as your, my recovery drink of choice. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite have the number of carbohydrates we need. So you have to pair it with a carbohydrate source and an electrolyte source. And although the amounts are different for everyone, like one beer affects me way differently than it affects my husband, who weighs, almost twice as much as me. You can find that spot for you, but remember your sleep's going to be impacted. Your hydration's going to be impacted as well. So take it, just maybe a little bit is okay, but let's not overdo it if we're skiing the next day. And then more specifically, he asked as an add-on to that, how do I ski multiple days in a row without feeling worn out? And of course, the first step of that is to build up your capacity in the gym. If we do some specifically strength endurance training, then we're going to have the ability to recover more quickly. And actually, cycling and running can be used to help that recovery happen. So if we build up our aerobic system, which the intervals in our 8-week ski program focus on that for part of the program, then you're going to find that you recover better even from a day skiing, even if you don't do any recovery stuff after. You have heart and lungs and metabolic capabilities to handle waste products or to fully digest the lactate that you've built up in your muscles from skiing. And so building that up pre-season is actually going to mean that you can ski multiple days in a row, no problem. Moving on to the next question. Oh yeah, okay, this one was neat. It was a question with a DM message chat that I was having with somebody, and they asked, how do I know if I'm fit enough to ski? And man, that gave me pause. I could do a whole series on this as well, I think, because the number one thing, if you've worked with me before, you know that I think the point of the gym is to help you get more joy out of life and interact with the world around you. So I don't think I'd ever say to someone, hey, you're not fit enough to put on a pair of skis. I think what fitness allows us to do is to not worry about our body when we're on the hill and to focus on external things like working on our technique or taking in the view or enjoying the other friends that we have with us on the mountain. But my initial reaction is don't think you're not fit enough to ski. You can always go out there, take lots of breaks. You can start on easy beginner hills and take it easy. Now, when it comes to looking for performance on hill, that's where building up your fitness higher is going to really help you. So my hot take answer is going to be that I'm going to do a longer video on this because I think it would be really fun to set some sort of goalpost standards, some things that you could aim towards to know, okay, do you know what? I'm set on the anaerobic capacity side of being ready for skiing, but I really want to work on my strength more. That leads me into, when I start the ski program with folks, as part of our intro assessment, we try a number of exercises. We do a movement assessment. I take a look at that movement assessment, and then we talk about what to focus on for the person in terms of mobility throughout the program and any exercise modifications that we want to make for the program. And I'll always start that conversation with people by saying, hey, some of these exercises are really hard. And just because you didn't do them doesn't mean, or you can't do them right now, it doesn't mean that you're not ready to ski. But they help me as a trainer figure out what we can focus on so that we get the best benefit when we're on snow. Oh, that's a great follow-up question, Mark. I'm going to skip to that one for the next. He asked, do you have any opinions about what the first day on the mountain should look like or what the first runs should look like? I filmed a video last year. I will post it in the description of this when I'm done the live. But it talked about what to do on day one, because I think day one on the mountain is kind of special. Do you guys, I don't know, every year when I get off the lift, even though I've been doing this for so many years, there's a little bit of trepidation. There's like, oh, am I going to remember how to do my first turn on snow? And what I found is a few drills can really set you up for a great season. I have a tendency to do drills because I'm a coach as well. But I think starting slow and just remembering, oh, this is how I edge set. Oh, this is how I rotate my femurs. Doing some drills like that can really get you in touch with your skis faster. And so I would say the first run, you probably want to do a green run for the first run of the year. Even if you are an expert skier, start on an easier slope. Do some drills either that are relevant to you or check out that video for a couple of the drill ideas that I start the season with every year. And play. So I'll do this with my ski racers, my kiddos. We will play with, okay, let's get forward on the ski. Let's get back on the ski. Let's see what that feels like. And that's going to help you find center. And the rest of your week should be good to go. And then when it comes to the first day on the hill, I think it's okay to alternate between a harder run, easier run, harder run, easier run, to make sure you're flushing out any of those waste products that you get from the tougher runs. You can metabolize them on an easier run and alternating back and forth between those. Great question. Thank you for that. If anyone else has questions, pop them in the chat. I'm already halfway through here and I've got a long list, so we'll go to the next one anyhow. How do I maintain ski fitness during the season? This was a really good conversation I had with a client 2 days ago, I think. And for our ski program participants, if you are here from the ski program, there is a ski maintenance workout that you're going to get, some post-ski day mobilities that you're going to get. And those, I want you to hang your hat on them and use them. I want you to do that ski maintenance workout. The ski maintenance workout focuses on making sure we still have all the power we built up during the year or the preseason, all the strength we built up during the preseason. And then it also works, hello, Tobias. It also works the muscles that we're not giving as much attention to on the hill. It makes sure that we're still using those, because during the season, we want to make sure that we're staying balanced physically. Tobias, if you have that question, I'd love for you to pop it in there. And as soon as I see it, I can answer it. Meanwhile, I'm going to move on to the next one on here, which I got from our ski participants. And that question was, how do I deal with delayed onset muscle soreness? So either post-exercise or post-skiing, we can sometimes feel okay and maybe like not sore at all for 10, 12, 15 hours. And then all of a sudden, maybe a day later, we start feeling crazy sore. If this happened to you, it means you've done some significant muscle tearing or damage to your muscles, and you need to focus on recovery. And so recovery, there's the three things that are very simple, but can be hard to do. The first is proper sleep. So making sure that you're getting 8 hours. It's different on each person, but that 7 to 9 hours is typically the range. Making sure that we have the building blocks to repair those muscles. So immediately post exercise, in fact, I just got off the phone with someone talking about recovery. Immediately after exercise, we want to make sure that our body has protein available to rebuild our muscles. Like, it's literally, if you asked a construction company to pour you a concrete foundation and then you didn't give them enough concrete, that foundation's not going to be very good. So for us, when it comes to our workouts, if we're asking our body to make a physical change to add muscle cells to our muscles, we need to make sure we're giving our body the building blocks of our muscle. So that's why protein is so important after a workout or after a day on snow. And then hydration is going to be really important for recovery and improvement. Think about hydration as you're giving your body lubrication to do all the things it needs to do. If you're dehydrated, your heart literally has to work harder to pump blood around your system. Everything is harder, and so there's less of an ability to make changes. And so DOMS, although some of it is a bit of a waiting game, you can help your body recover if you have those three things in place. Next thing, I'm not seeing any new chat questions. So I'm going to go to the next one on my list here. Oh, yes, this was a good one. If my quads are burning, could that be a sign that I'm not using the right muscles, or is it a lack of strength? Excellent question. This one was from the one of my ski program participants, and the reason I love this question is for two things. First, when we're skiing, if you're leaning back, you are going to be using your quads at a 10 out of 10. So they will be sore. So that's the first reason. Technique can change what muscles are sore on the hill. The second thing that can change what muscles are sore on the hill is what ones we're using. So I guess that's kind of the same technique wise, but it's also we can learn how to start a turn using more of our posterior chain, our glutes, using those muscles of the hamstrings and calves and stuff in the turn. And that's going to mean we rely less on our quads, which mean our quads are less sore. And there's actually exercises you can do in the gym that help with that so much. So maybe actually, I think I have a video on why my quads are burning that I'll link as well in the description below. But finally, it might be that you are having great technique, but still a ski turn does use a lot of our quadriceps muscles. And so your quads might be sore simply because you're using them with the volume of turns that you're doing, or the speed and the forces that you get. All right, we're going to move on to another question. And that question, see, we only have time for one more. So I'm going to answer this one. How do you train for going skiing if you don't have any hills in your area? Which was a great question. It was actually from one of my ski program participants who it's her second year doing the program actually. And she actually asked it because it was what she wondered before she did one of our fitness programs. And I think that's how she found us. Actually, it was through a video where I talk about that. And it's such a cool thing to talk about because you don't need hills to train for skiing. You can use strength exercises, squats, and rear foot elevated split squats through large ranges of motion and with control, and that's going to ready you for the steepest of slopes. The other thing I also tell people is to really focus on building up their core strength, because that is going to translate so well to being able to handle any steepness of terrain. I am older, retired, and not very good at taking breaks. Because I am a senior, how often I think you mean should I take breaks? Fair enough, Rick. I'm also not very good at taking breaks unless there's a good view, and then I take breaks. So when you're out skiing, it depends what you want to work on hill. If someone's working on building up their strength endurance, then it's okay to try and loop together longer runs. But if your technique starts to suffer, it's kind of the same as in the gym. If your technique starts to suffer because you're so tired, then you're now building maybe not the best habits. And so I would recommend that if you start to feel that, it's time to take a break. And if you want to ski for longer, do it on an easier slope or in easier conditions. So maybe go to a groomed run to do a longer run, work on your technique on that longer run, and then take it back to the steep stuff in the harder snow and the harder conditions. Awesome. Well, I am so excited to see a large number of you guys watching live. I appreciate it so much. If you have any other questions for me, you can certainly shoot me a message. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a wilder week, and we'll talk to all of you soon.